Good evening, everybody. It's Monday, so we're coming back to Stellaris. I really love watching these loading screens come up with the music on in the background. Builds suspense. Makes me wonder what's coming up. Beautiful soundtrack to this game. Really great art style. It's not a surprise to anybody that I like Stellaris. It's another Paradox development studio game, obviously published by Paradox Interactive, and as always, as is appropriate in such situations, I did get a copy of not only Stellaris, but the DLC Leviathans, which we're going to be playing tonight from them. So definitely very grateful for that. But probably worth evaluating if you're considering this game based on my sterling recommendations. Why do I like it? I mean, one of the earliest things that I played on stream, and certainly one that I return to very often, although I have been on a bit of a dry spell for this game, is Crusader Kings 2, the first Paradox Grand Strategy game that I played. Probably actually the first Grand Strategy I played at all. And this more or less follows in the similar spirit. I think what makes this game interesting is you can take all of the elements of very good science fiction. You can take some things like, how do I put it? You can take these ideas of discovery and exploration, and you can turn them into a set of game mechanics. I think there's two big things about this game which I like the most, which are the fact that you are, if not outright encouraged, at least have the means of sort of creating your own little story of this race going out into the stars. And then on top of that, you have, you have a really beautiful art program, and you have it's a complicated set of rules, it's a complicated set of sort of mechanics going on inside of this game, but presented in a very appealing way that sort of allow you to get through it. And I think with each successive game that Paradox has made, that they've made the access to information simpler, but the complexity of the games have arguably increased. I haven't been playing them that long to maybe know the difference between two generations of a game, so I don't know the difference between, let's say, Europa Universalis 3 versus 4, or Crusader Kings 1 versus Crusader Kings 2, but definitely across the franchises, and to see maybe something like Crusader Kings 2, which I think is one of the older titles in the series that I've played, versus Stellaris and Hearts of Iron 4. It's definitely very interesting to see how they've built on their experience and how they've continued to make these games very rich in terms of their content and the potential for experience, and while still keeping it straightforward enough that you can see the information that you need at the time. And I think it's very well suited to a science fiction environment because, again, you have these emergent moments in the gameplay, and as a result, you have this wonderful blank canvas to write it on. So, quick thank you to the people who hosted me. We've got the Rambler 146, Blog and Tea, and Jesse Quill. Now, unfortunately, it looks like Jesse Quill didn't get the due respect with that host. So let's just see if we can remedy that. Let's make sure that Streamlabs is working tonight, and then we'll be able to get into the gameplay. I'd like to give it a couple of minutes before I get into the gameplay, but seeing as we do have the lovely Miss Jessie Quill in channel right now, and Dynamite, thank you. Okay, you know what? I don't think I had the dashboard open, so we've got it's not fine, Jesse Quill. I gotta give you a shout out. So guys, actually one thing I'm gonna say, I'm gonna start with a purely selfish reason for shouting out Jesse Quill. When she was in Canada, I got a chance to hang out with her in my home city now. And we went to IKEA and she bought me a plant. And I've never really been one for pets, or I normally just don't keep too many living things in the house because I'm not good at taking care of them. But I got a plant, so now I'm responsible for it. And I will admit, in the little while that I've had it, I've actually grown quite attached to it. I had to send her a quick message and say, hey, you gave me some instructions for taking care of this thing. I don't remember them. Could you let me know again? So, one, she's a really lovely lady because she gives me stuff. But I think more importantly too, Jess is a very gifted entertainer. It's easy to say, and there's certainly no shortage of attractive women online to... oh, my oven's beeping at me. Tell you what, guys, enjoy this slightly nondescript background. I will be back in but a moment. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Oh, that's really cool, Dynamite. Yeah, Jesse Quill actually got me, brought We Are the Dwarves to my attention as well. I played it a little bit on cast, but not nearly as comprehensively as she did. And I think it's a fairly well done game. It's maybe not something I'd turn into a regular on the channel, but you never know. I might give it another shot. But anyways, I did want to take a minute and give a proper shout out to Jesse Quill. So in one sense, you can just sort of say, you know, she's another attractive woman playing video games on the internet. I've seen that before. Now, one, that's an incredibly unfair way of looking at any streamer, right? But the biggest thing that I would say about Jesse Quill is she has, one, the temperament to achieve the kind of success that she has. I mean, her success is obvious. You need only look at the stream to see that. But if you just simply look at her personality and her character, which I try to spend so much time shouting out, it's very easy to see how she was able to turn this into success. She is the sort of person who shows up, sometimes had a little bit of difficulty, you know, getting a consistent schedule down, but has always had the work ethic and has always had sort of the consciousness of what her audience needs. And she really understands people, both in terms, I mean, one in the sense of her, you know, her background in psychology and the way that she talks with people. But I think more importantly too, she is warm and kind enough that people will feel comfortable bringing up maybe even personal issues in her chat. But also too, she understands what goes into a good show. She's able to jump between very serious subject matter to silly subject matter to, you know, really just about anything. And this goes from the types of things that she streams. She's done creative, she's done cooking, she's done social eating. But also it's come down to just the types of games that she plays, the types of things that she talks about while she is streaming. And it's not surprising to know that she is a manager of influencers and content creators. As I like to say, one of the nicest things about her is to see how well she fits in this job. And she's basically doing this entirely on her own, which is something that I have a great respect for and could not imagine doing myself. She's, you know, it's one thing to say, so obviously I'm playing this game because a company gave me a key. And there's a lot of people who think that they can do this job. There's a lot of people who think, oh, you know, how hard could it be? I just, you know, I give a key to my buddies and they'll stream it. And, you know, sure, getting people watching it is one thing, but I can tell you so many times, especially watching like Elcanu and things like that, there's a huge difference between somebody who is sort of designed to play a game like this, or somebody has a true love of the genre or gaming, playing it and just making you want the game, or giving it its best show, or any of these different things. I mean, there's a lot of things that a developer wants. I think what a developer wants in the end is largely the same as what a streamer wants. Is they want a chance to entertain you. They want, just step away from the marketing jargon, step away from, from what the all the clamor and everybody trying to get your attention. It's just, here's what I've made. I put a lot of time into this. Is this worth your money? Do you want to try my game? I think in the end is really what any given designer is really looking for a chance to say. And I can tell you, whenever Jess connects me with a game, whenever Jess makes a recommendation or tosses a key my way, or says, hey, are you interested in this sort of thing, or what's your opinion on X, Y, or Z, I'm always going to check it out. She has established this, this rapport, and she's got a very clear understanding of what I like and what I do well. And this goes right down to her first advice to my cast. She really understands what makes people tick and what makes their streams good. And so in that sense, it's just another part. Jesse Quill the caster is very much like Jesse Quill the person, and you will learn, you will be entertained, you're gonna have a great time checking her out. And so again, she's one of my highest recommendations on Twitch. In fact, she is my highest recommendation on Twitch. There's no qualification there. She's an absolutely fantastic caster, very gifted entertainer, and very deserving of your time, which is obviously very valuable. But she is somebody who I will continue to shout out, and somebody who I'll continue to advocate for on the stream, because not only has she been so giving towards me, but she really is worth it. You're really missing out if you don't get a chance to see her. So anyways, guys, I guess it's time that I need to, I guess it's time for me to unpause and start playing the game, huh? All right, so there's plenty of exploration that we need to do. I guess one of the things that I would maybe mention for a game like this, it's easy to get lost, especially when I'm playing on the largest map size. So let's consider what our immediate priorities are. Well, first of all, we'll take a look at the space that we control, which is a little bit difficult, I appreciate, because the Allied Drill Prevent systems are the same color as us. But basically, all you need to know is the border crosses here. We don't own Idzik, we do own Navi. And the rest of it is fairly self-explanatory. So first thing that we want to do is take a look and see if there's anything that isn't green, right? These would mean that these are resources in a system that we haven't developed yet. And as much as I would love to own Syzygia, that's just not a reality. So first goal has sort of been taken care of, which is that this construction ship has basically built everything that we need. Next thing that we might want to consider are the construction on a given system. I'll do that in a minute. I just sort of want to consider some other things before we do that. The next thing so one way you could maybe do this is you could take a look through your outliner, and however you want to divide it is sort of up to you. But in this case here, I'd say it's like, first of all, I've got one idle ship, which is my construction ship. Is there anything I can do with the construction ship right now? No, because all of the systems have been developed. And that's the way it should be. Until my borders expand to incorporate this planet or this planet, I'm not going to see any further expansion. What I may want to do is see if there's some way that I can increase the colonized systems here and colonize Chertan. So nothing I can do with the construction ship. What about my science ships? Maybe it would be better if I took a look at what they were doing. Right now, they're working on this sort of quest line that I have. Unfortunately, there's one quest which is behind enemy lines, and these guys are basically a rival. So there's no way that I'm going to be getting into that space unless I declare war on them. Is this a quest line that's worth going to war for? Possibly. But I want to make sure that I have all my ducks in a row for that, and this would mean that I need to deal with at least 3 of my naval capacity. So that might be the next thing that I want to take a look at, is my starship. What about this next science ship? Well, it's doing a little bit of a weird navigation route. But basically, we're dealing with the last little edge of the universe here. We know we can't go into this section because this is actually a very high-powered faction, which will roll over and crush us whenever they decide to. So in the meantime, we're just sort of exploring this edge of space. It's very likely that we're just going to sort of cede this to our rivals here. And we're maybe going to be focusing more on expansion in this part of the galaxy. What we might also want to do is start clearing out the last of the hostiles in these areas as well, but we maybe don't need to worry about that until my science ships start going there. One thing I may also want to consider is building another science ship so I can sort of get a little bit more efficient in my exploration. Seeing as this is going to be cut off from me, I might want to do it so that there's one ship sort of going to the west and then one ship sort of going northeast. But we'll make those distinctions when the time comes up. Right now, I don't think that's a good use of my resources. All right, so let's take a look at the planets. So my capital is fully developed. Unless I want to upgrade a facility, I'm pretty much tapped out. I have a surplus of 3 food, so what I might want to do is take a look and see if there's some kind of farm that's producing just 3 food. The fact of the matter is there isn't. I've got 8, 7, 6. Everything's sort of where it needs to be as far as these resources are concerned. The only thing that might be different is if this upgrade happens and I have a very large surplus, something that would maybe allow me to knock out the +8. I don't think it's going to happen though, so we can probably just let's see. Yeah, we're replacing that with a hydroponics farm 3. This is also getting a hydroponics farm 3, so it's a little redundant, but I might as well just upgrade things to the max. Next up, I could potentially consider building further defensive units. So these are potential armies here. Actually, it looks like I get them for free. No, defense is 0.15. So there is a little bit of an argument to do this now, seeing as, you know, at some point I may potentially need to defend this planet. But I think I'm okay holding off for now. It's I'm going to rely on my navy to take care of it. So I don't have anything else to build in my spaceport. But let's maybe deal with this other thing in my outline that I need for construction. Can't upgrade the spaceport because I've already done the... I don't have the technology for it, but I don't have a cruiser yet. So let's see how many... it looks like it would require a ship size for... Well, you know what? I'm going to pay a little bit more for this, but it'd be very interesting to have a nice big capital ship. Let's build one cruiser, and we'll just have to deal with the fact that I've gone a little bit over my naval capacity. This is a question of efficiency, not necessarily a hard cap. No point in building a colony ship, of course, because I've already hit my well, I mean, it's possible I could build. I don't actually know what happens if I go 1 in surplus. It might make some sense. Maybe let's see what happens when I explore this area, and we might try and push the limits of that. The problem is it's a very costly mistake if that's a hard cap that I can't go past. All right, so we really don't have anything else that we can do on our home planet. So some other things that we might want to consider. We could potentially build a spaceport, and that would apply to any of our systems. We don't actually have any additional spaceports. Let's maybe take a look and see what we can do on the surface. In fact, in particular, we want to see what the growth rates are, because I built the species sort of assuming that they would have very high growth rates and that they would get all of the resources for a given planet as quickly as possible. So we've got a fairly good growth rate here, 5. 1 here, so we might want to see if there's anything we can do to boost growth on Jap. Hizzle also has a somewhat anemic growth rate, and Pentarum Prime has a very good growth rate. So let's start by taking a look at these 2 planets and see if there's anything that will affect our growth. So it looks like to take advantage of any further growth, I'm actually going to need to build some additional farms. We've got 7 people on the planet right now, so what we actually want to do is we want to reach a population of 10 so that we can upgrade our capital. That will give us access to better hydroponics plants, and as a result we will be able to to basically build more. So it might make sense to consider building a hydroponics farm sooner rather than later. I also want to take a quick look and see what happens if I try and build a power plant here. Interesting. So in that situation, I'm still going to collect the Betharian stone. All right. So what I think I'll do here is I'll just take some arbitrary plot of land. It's going to take a very long time for us to actually get a population that'll work this, but that's not so bad because in the end we're going to take a couple of turns to build these other things. So we've got some somewhat long-term plans in terms of what our growth rate's going to be on Jap. Let's see if we can do anything else about Hizzle. Again, it's got a food surplus of 1. We want to try and get an additional 2 population in here. And what you'll notice is in this case we actually have a few different places where we can potentially get some bonuses. So one thing that I might want to do is start building some hydroponics farms on these locations. It's not ideal, of course, because that means I'm going to be suppressing the mineral wealth, but the alternative, just to give you an idea, let's assume that I maybe double down on this resource collection or something like that. If I build a mineral processing plant, even just on this tile here, I get 2. So in this case here, it's just a little bit more about specializing. If I leave these areas undeveloped, I get 1 mineral, 1 food. Whereas if I say it's like, okay, I'm going to build, a hydroponics plant here, and then I'm going to build a mineral processing plant to compensate for it, in this case, I'm still ahead of the game because I'm going to have, I'm basically going to be using these resources that I have a little bit more efficiently. So I think what I'll do here, it does mean a hit to my minerals, but I think I'm willing to sacrifice that. So we will build a hydroponics farm here. And again, this is only suppressing the mineral collection. So I can change this. I could actually turn this into a mining area later. And I think I'm just going to make this my only, well, actually no. I think I should actually consider developing some of these other resources. Let's take the ones that are exclusive to one resource, and we'll start developing those out. So I can do a mining network, or I can do a mineral silo. Oh, there's adjacency effects. I think what we want to start off with is a mineral processing plant. That's because we're going to be getting mineral bonuses. I should actually make sure there's one of those on every planet that I have. So Rothrak has mining network. 2 mining networks, and it seems like no processing plant. So this does mean we're actually going to sacrifice... Actually, what I should have done was I should have evaluated... Okay, so we've got bonus 3 from... Okay, so we're going to sacrifice 1. 10% increase to 9 and 8. Yeah, so we make up the 1 and we get a slight surplus. So this was the right call to make. Lethith Prime. Now it looks like we don't have a fixed... Yeah, so we face a similar problem here. I don't really have a dedicated mineral area. So what I think I'm going to wind up doing on this planet is once I've filled up the population, I'm actually going to replace some of these food areas with... Actually, you know what? I think I can afford to do it on 1. So let's take the one... I'll take the one with the more, with the higher mineral resource. Ah, and we can't build the processing plant because we don't have the money. How you doing, Nubasaur? Thank you. I really appreciate that, Jesse Quill. I'm going to unpause, by the way, because there's nothing else that we can do at the moment. I mean, one thing that I'm doing here, and maybe for the benefit of those of you who, I mean, maybe you're interested in streaming games like this, or you want to know a little bit about what's going on in the background. Because I don't have a camera, I try to give voice to every single step that I'm going to take. So what I'm doing here, normally if I were to just be sitting here playing this game on my own, like just observe the fact that we're about half an hour into the stream and I've only just removed the pause button. The reason why I do this is I'm trying to give voice to a thought process that usually just takes seconds when I play a game like this. So one good example of this actually is when Jessie Quill and I play Chaos Reborn. Sometimes I will talk with her about strategies that I'm employing or how the game went. We're about even in terms of win-loss ratios. She's quite good at that game. But I try to give voice to some of the things that I'm doing just to, maybe avoid obvious mistakes, or to make it a fair fight, or otherwise just generally make the game a little more interesting. I'm definitely not interested in winning based on the fact that I had some private knowledge, like maybe she didn't understand a mechanic, or something like that. Just Chaos Reborn's a really good game. I actually feel bad that we haven't played in a while, because there have been some patches, and it's such a wonderful game. And more importantly, too, I think we wind up getting people interested in that title when we play it. So, in addition to Satellite Rain, we should probably work out a Chaos Reborn plan. So again, Chaos Reborn has timed turns, but when playing the game with Jessie Quill, I do try and give voice to my actions. All right.
Research complete.
Let's just take a quick second and see what these things are saying. All right, maintenance cost of your military ships is increased by +2% due to being over your naval capacity. I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. If I go too crazy, obviously I'm gonna pay through the nose for this navy. But I think, especially being able to have like a big capital ship, just let's compare, right? This thing does, what's that, 41% damage reduction. Okay, 26.42 per turn. Let's compare that to the Raider. .04. So it's fairly self-explanatory why I want at least one capital ship like that. Ain't that thing a beauty? Yeah, I just think there's some value in giving voice to your thought process, and again, where for me it's maybe a largely automatic or sort of an implicit process. I think there's value on a stream in just taking the time to sort of say, okay, this is why I'm doing this thing here. It's largely an automatic reaction for me when I play this game, but this is what I'm thinking when I take X, Y, or Z step. For instance, another thing that I'm thinking of right now is the only way that I'm going to be able to expand my borders without hitting sort of the edges of these things are researching technologies that's going to give me access to additional planets, or through gaining further resources that sort of allow me to increase my influence and as a result build more of these frontier outposts. So in this case, the key for my expansion now lies in technology. So I'm keeping an eye on things like the fact that I have 31 physics research and 39 engineering research, and say, is there something that I can do to boost these? As a matter of fact, there is. Not on my capital planet, which has more or less upgraded everything, although it looks like we can boost our physics lab now. Oh yes, actually. This is an engineering facility, hydroponics, engineering, biolab. Okay, I just want to make sure that I've got sort of the best of each class on my tiles. So what I want to be considering in the long term is to develop tiles like this. What else do we have? So, we've got a potential engineer sitting here. So I do want to be, and especially, like, this is something I really want to prioritize because, of course, I have I've got population halfway through building here, and of course I've only got 39 for my engineering research versus 52 for my social research. What else do we have? Oh, the majestic music's coming back, chat. I'm not clearing this active volcano yet just because we've got so much living space that it'd be a little bit of a waste of resources to do that right now. This is another fantastic example of a planet where I've got lots of research potential. What I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to move this population onto this tile, and I'm going to build a basic science lab. One, because there's already construction going, but furthermore, this is going to allow me to boost my weakest form of research. So this is a little bit more of a long-term goal, but keep in mind that right now I'm worried about this food surplus on this planet, and so that's where my construction focus is going. Alright, nothing more to do on this spaceport. Alright, so we've got a new physics lab. We already dealt with that. So let's consider our next step. Cold fusion power is very tempting. Because that's basically going to make my ships a little bit more efficient in terms of their power usage. Could do improved deflectors. That's going to be increasing damage mitigation, which I also think is a very tempting upgrade. And then we have warp drive 2. So this component will increase my warp range, my FTL speed, and my jump cooldown. The jump cooldown is actually a very tempting one. Let's take a look at what my existing power gives me. So in a small, we've got 20 in a small one. And we've got 15, so that's going to be 5 additional power that we generate if we go for cold fusion. And we also boost our energy storage capacity, but I don't think we're getting near, yeah, we're not really near 8,000 yet. It pains me to do so, but I think I'm actually going to go for the improved deflectors because they're the cheapest. They improve my planet fortifications, but they also improve the damage mitigation on my ships. If you take a look, every single ship uses these deflectors. So I think this is the most immediate benefit that I can get. I'm a little tempted to go pick a fight up north, but I don't. What I might wind up doing is just kind of clearing out enemies that that these rivals need to deal with. So I'm gonna hold off for a little bit. Another thing about this game, so we talked a little bit about the beginning about how I start a game like this, how I take stock of my current situation, I see what ships are standing idle and if there's any way that I can profitably employ them. And one of the things that I tend to do in Stellaris especially, because this sort of seems to be a nice way that they motivate some of the actions that you take, is to look at the situation log. Now, the only way I'm going to be able to find further precursors artifacts is if I explore, which is what one of my science ships is doing right now. Next we've got alien specimen, which we just completed actually. Snerians are large burrowing creatures that live beneath the dunes of the vast equatorial deserts on Tintragal. When these predators sense movement in the sand above, they immediately raise dozens of tail spikes from their backs in the hope of impaling something edible. Finding a suitable specimen proved difficult at first, until hundreds of tracked, remote-controlled drones were dispatched across the desert in random directions. This led to the discovery and procurement of an unusually large specimen that had grown more than 100 spikes on its back. Excellent. We gain a specimen, and we gain 250 social research. Social research is particularly helpful. Oh, we've gained a achievement, Power Overwhelming, store or have over 5,000 energy credits. So, we're going to gain our last specimen with this ship. The final specimen that we claim is right here. So what we're actually going to do is we're just going to plan ahead of time. Again, you never need to commit. One of the biggest things that I can say about grand strategy games, and this is true to the spirit, right? The term grand strategy was originally used in strategic studies and in military science, and what it referred to was a state employing all of the resources at its disposal. So maybe we can build this from the micro level up to the macro level. You can think of tactics, which is simply, how do I use my existing resources on a battlefield to achieve my aims? This is, where do I move my troops? How do I get the ammunition to my troops? How do I do, these immediate things, right? These are the sorts of things that people make split-second decisions on in the heat of battle, basically. And this is why, you'll see people refer to games such as, Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six Siege or something like that as tactical games. The next level is strategy. So a great example of strategy, in my view at least, would be to say, all right, so what happens when you have 300 Spartans at the gates of the hot gates, Thermopylae, where their numbers will count for nothing? Okay. It's a very short-sighted individual who says, well, the Spartans clearly weren't very good warriors because they lost Thermopylae. The other way of looking at that is to say, through the use of 300 warriors, the ability to hold back such a large army for such a long period of time and so costly to the Persian invasion created a situation under which the Greeks would be able to win the Battle of Plataea and send the Persians packing. In this case, it's another way of saying, you may have won the battle, but you've lost the war. Strategy is moving everything. So you would say, the tactics of a chess game, right? This is that move that I employed that allowed me to gain material. So I capture your knight, let's say, using a pawn. I sacrifice a pawn, capture the knight, I move up in material. However, if that move opened up my king, which then allows you to move your queen into a checkmate position, all of a sudden I don't really care about winning that knight, do I? And so this is the difference between strategy and tactics. Strategy would be the broader picture, how you're going to use all of your resources, and not necessarily how you deal with the minutiae of their use in a particular scenario, but rather how you're going to move all the pieces in the board to achieve your objectives. Finally, grand strategy would be employing, again, like I said, all of the resources of the state. So these are diplomatic, these are economic. It's not just a matter of here's how I'm using my military resources, but here's how I'm going to employ all of the tools of the state in order to achieve my objectives. And that, I think, is a fantastic description of these Paradox games. It's been tough for me to say whether or not the Total War games sort of fit the grand strategy bill for me, and part of that is just simply the fact that I haven't played them that much. So in this situation, it's a little hard for me to say, this is a good example of a grand strategy game or not. Definitely, it's very heavily focused on your movements of units, and so in that case, I would say it's moving a little bit further away from the grand strategy element of things. I'm not entirely sure how you can use diplomatic elements to achieve your ends, whereas you can presumably, it wouldn't necessarily be a very exciting game, but you could sort of imagine playing Crusader Kings and doing reasonably well for yourself without ever actually going to war. So that's kind of the distinction that I make. And again, I think Stellaris is really interesting and unique in this position, because there's definitely been games which line up. So you've got Endless Space and Master of Orion, which have definitely sort of skirted around some of these ideas, but Stellaris really seems to have brought that paradox model. Makes sense, they're the ones who made it. But I think they did a really good job of sort of adapting what they've done with history and put it onto something in the future. And I think one of the great strengths that they had was they gave you this big, broad, open canvas with which to do that. So I've got a fairly good idea about the history of these frog people, even if I haven't made it explicit on the cast. Anyways, let's talk about some technology that I'm going to research. Frontier Clinic is tempting because of some of these planets which only have 70% habitability. It's also a very inexpensive one. Another alternative that I would have would be Xenodiplomacy, and this would allow me to form a federation. And so there's a couple reasons why I want to do that. One, I want to see if I can actually form a federation. Two, it's statecraft, so they got to get a bonus for that from this character's research expertise. Hello, Mr. Franz, good to see you again. And finally, if I do succeed in forming a federation, it might mean that I have sort of a chance of gobbling up these enemies here, a little bit more so than my existing diplomatic arrangements. Frontier Clinic is definitely more in line with my expansion plans, so I'm taking a little bit of a gamble that this is going to be available to me next pass, but I am going to go for Form Federation. Even though it's my second most expensive option, I think it's the better call, just because it will allow me to gain a little bit more security as far as my military is concerned. We have a lot of spiritually oriented species around us, and that can always be a source of conflict. I'm all right, Mr. Franz. How are you doing? Congratulations, by the way, on your win. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Franz is a hockey player, and well, I suppose that's your story to tell, but met with some success on the ice. This is very interesting that the capital ship is going up front. I wonder if there's a way to change formations. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any kind of formations. Let's zoom in and get a good look at this thing. This is my fleet, chat. Look at that. Don't you wish your fleet was hot like mine? Looks like I'm getting some surplus on mineral resources again. I think what we'll do here while we're waiting for some of these things to be achieved. First of all, I'm going to audit my my capital, just make sure everything's the way that it needs to be. We're currently upgrading our mineral processing plant. We should have a power plant. There should also be some kind of energy hub. Nope. The governor has gained a level. Okay, so there's actually another improvement that we can make. So if I take one of these and... hang on. Got power plant 1. There used to be some kind of like energy hub. Oh, power hub 2. Already got it here. So that'll give me a bonus to my energy credits. Let's take a project complete. The Tassargoroid is an extremely lethal predator that stalks the dense jungles of Las Verdes at night, paralyzing its prey with electric shock before sucking their brains out with its tube-like mouth. Unfortunately, 3 of the crew members from the ISS Denorzo were lost to these creatures before a specimen could be secured. The Museum of Exobiology on Rothak will rename one of its wings after these brave officers and to honor their sacrifice. Again, we've gained another specimen, and we've got an additional 250 society research. So, only other thing I'm going to take a look on this planet is the happiness level, which actually, now that I think of it, I don't know how to actively check.
Anomaly found.
Nope. So we've got an anomaly. Sensors are reporting a number of possible points of interest within the dense debris field surrounding E491138. Let's explore it, even though it's a slightly higher level anomaly. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna tab out for a second and see if I can find this, how to tell happiness. Happiness is calculated in the game and is a per pop basis. This means a section on the planetary grid that is occupied by a population unit or pop has its own individual happiness level, and it is on a percentage scale. Cool. So I mean, they're not overwhelmingly happy, but they're not unhappy. Let's take a look at what the Stellaris wiki says about happiness. I know this is a little bit of a slower start, guys, but I think it's time. Seeing as I've built myself a fairly good foundation, I think now the aim is to learn a little bit more about elements that I'm less clear on. And again, for those of you who are on the fence about playing games like this, I think the best thing to do is get the basics down. Get to a point where you are able to look at the game, look at the sheet, and say, here are my broader goals. Here are some basic things that I want to achieve. And then go from that and be able to, you know, say, like for me, I've said, okay, so I've got a happiness percentage level. What does this mean? And in this case, I mean, Paradox produces a wiki for each of their games. There's one for Hearts of Iron, there's one for Stellaris. And so in this case here, they outline the effects. If you're 51% or greater, you're happy, you'll give an additional 0.4% to food, an additional 0.4% to energy and minerals, an additional 0.4% to research, and a negative 0.4% to ethics divergence. So everybody on this planet is well above 50%. That's all I need. I'm just going to continue to exploit these resources. The capital is exactly the way I want it right now. It's upgrading its labs. The only other possible improvement might be taking away some food resources, but honestly, I'm gonna need a pretty substantial increase in my farming technology. So everything's the way that it needs to be on this planet here. Let's take a look at Liseth Prime. Okay, so we've got 50% happiness. So we're okay, not fantastic. We do have an 11 population though, which means that we can now upgrade some buildings. Let's start with... Wait, where is my headquarters? Ah, we already have a planetary capital. So let's start with power and then science. Ah, I need to choose. Okay, well, I think it's fairly obvious that I want to improve physics here. We're actually going to be able to get 2 upgrades on that because we have physics labs too. I think we're okay in terms of what the development is going to be right now. I may just want to wind up building some labs in these areas, and once I've got the populations in here, I'm actually going to need to start making some decisions about where I put my upgrades so far as minerals are concerned. But I'm going to preserve the option right now because I don't quite know what I want to do on this planet yet. And sorry, I do want to take a second. I might actually make sure that I have, I think as... so you've got a 44 happiness already, so what I'm going to do for one of them at least is build a hyper entertainment forum. This is a pretty substantial cost, but it's going to boost the happiness of the planet, and as a result it's going to basically make me more efficient at gathering these kinds of resources. So this is going to take a long time, but that's fine because I'm not going to have population that grows here anyway. Alright, now for Jap. Well, let's start by upgrading the resources that are being worked. And again, we don't have any tiles that aren't being worked. It doesn't make any sense to clear out the active volcano yet because we've got all of these tiles which haven't been touched yet. But let's take a quick look at where we are as far as happiness is concerned. So we're edging onto the 50% level, but we don't need to worry about that. I think one of these is going to have a dedicated hyper entertainment forum before too long. We can do an upgrade to our farm, so we'll take care of that. and we're okay as far as our growth is concerned. So I think the time now is to start, again, just upgrading the areas where we have an unambiguous benefit. So again, I don't know if I want to go for energy or minerals. Probably energy on these ones, because you'll notice that I'm generating about twice as many minerals as I am energy. Of course, I'm also using a lot more minerals, so it's not at all set in stone that I want to do that. The next thing that I want to do, again, is create one of these entertainment forums, because as you can see, I've got some people quite unhappy at the moment. Part of this is because the planet is not very habitable, but I don't have any habitability options right now. So we'll bite the bullet. Oh, we need a planetary capital first, so we are 2 population away from that. So I think the next step is I think just focus on our farms and then return to this planet when we get a chance. Again, upgrade the hydroponics plant. What's likely going to happen here is I'm going to wind up sacking one of these hydroponics plants. This is a power hub, so this should be giving me a bonus to energy credits. Actually, let's switch these gentlemen around. Doesn't make any sense to have somebody working a 1 tile when I've got a 3 available. And we are going to build a power plant here in anticipation of this guy arriving. What I'll probably wind up doing here is building a building some kind of science lab, but let's take a quick look at the happiness levels. Oh, see? Again, people are not too happy. This is going to be a little bit of a harder one for me to deal with though, right? Because notice I've got how many tiles? 1, 2, 3, 4... Oh wait, so I've got 3, 6, 9, 12... I've got 13 tiles, but I've got 5 blocked. So I actually think it's in my long-term interests to find some way of clearing toxic kelp, because this planet's going to stagnate unless I can get a 10 population. How are you doing, Captain Bear? Right. I suppose I didn't need to be paused while I did that. Oh yes, actually the one thing I do need to be paused for though is plotting out my journey for my science ship. I'm very tempted to explore on this end here, but I'm going to be a little bit of a free rider. It's possible that the Earthlings will be searching this area. So what I'll do instead is I will get a couple of peeks in on these areas sort of surrounding my enemy. And I want to do that before their borders potentially close on me. So we'll start by a couple... We'll go kind of the long... We'll take the scenic route on this. This is just a purely arbitrary line that I'm drawing here, but it sort of puts some... It kind of puts a bit of a border on what I'm going to be exploring in the north here. Oh, excellent 1-4. I'm actually going to be playing Tyranny before too long. I will let you know if you happen to like GOG. If you buy Tyranny through the affiliate link down below, it will cost you the same amount, but I will get a small percentage of that purchase. So if you would like to support the stream through that, that definitely helps me out. I will be streaming that game myself if you're interested in watching it. But of course the big thing here is that you support the developer, because I put a little bit of time into it. Actually, Jessie Quill saw me play a little bit of it, and I think she was sufficiently interested. And yes, I will be doing voices for that one, so...
Research complete.
Okay, we've got some new engines here. So in this case, we're going to be increasing our evasion. So sublight speed, combat speed, perfectly fine. But the big one that I wanted for this was an improvement to evasion. Again, damage mitigation is an absolutely outstanding way of dealing with these things. Alright, now I've got a big decision ahead of me. I can do afterburners. Very similar idea here of boosting my speeds, although of course here I'm only going to be gaining combat speed. So I think in this case what I'll do here is I will put an investment towards my future and instead go for super solid materials. Alright, so Jop has got an inactive building. I'm not too worried about that. We sort of knew that that was going to be happening. Pirate Exiles. What was thought to be a cluster of minerals in the metal hulls of two alien corvettes What was thought to be a cluster of minerals are the metal hulls of two alien corvettes stealthily drifting through the asteroid belt. Science officer Cathowix established contact, and the two ships are crewed by alleged former pirates, now cast out from their robber clan. They have heard whispers that the chief executive officer Midloex of the League of Sek-Lokar provinces is a champion of the people, and they seek asylum. We can say they can make themselves useful, or we must deny their asylum claim. Let's just take a quick look at what our relations are with Sek-Lokar. Oh wait, that's probably us. Yeah, I am an idiot. It doesn't say where they originally came from, so yes, let's say they can make themselves useful. Oh, nice. Okay. That's a little bit of a pain for me just because I'm really far over my cap now. So I've got a plus 8% to my sort of my consumption, but let's merge them. And we'll also upgrade the fleet so that we can take advantage of this new technology. Yes, thank you very much, Jesse Quill.
Ships upgraded. Construction complete.
I believe there's also an Archon edition. The Archon edition gives you... So basically the Overlord edition will give you the guidebook and the art book. The Archon edition gives you everything but those two things. But I think I just have the Commander edition. It's a perfectly satisfactory product. But again, I don't want to be too much of a shield for you guys, but it is, you know, it's a way that if you're going to be making a purchase anyway, it's a way that you can actually wind up supporting the stream. So, all right, what was that building? Oh, it was doing an upgrade. You know, okay, I really want to check out this planet just to see what the surface looks like. Looks like we want a physics lab on this one. Yep. Again, not currently under use, but that's fine because the population will grow into that. We anticipated that. I don't know what WOT is, Captain Bear. Or do I? Let me just think.
Construction complete.
Zach has built...
System survey complete.
Oh.
Anomaly found.
Life signs have been detected coming from the inside of the atmosphere of this gas giant. Could it indicate the presence of some kind of biosphere? Check it out, as always. Start has been explored, and we've got an anomaly we're already working on that. Oh, World of Tanks. I played World of Warships. I haven't actually tried World of Tanks yet. Looks really good, but so many games to play. Okay, what I think I'm going to start doing is building some spaceports. It cost me 324 mineral resources, but we've been in a bit of a holding pattern on a lot of these things, so it's just a nice little extra bit of defense for my systems. It saves me the trouble of building up some armies, and then I'll eventually build the armies. But we've got a few months before we get to do any more of these diplomatic things. What I should start looking at is the Plex Credonian Union of Suns. Let's just see how tough they are. Okay, equivalent across everything. So out of curiosity, if we were to enforce open borders through war, acting on orders from Science Officer Kathowix, the ISS Zebrax sent a probe into the atmosphere of Astarte 5 to investigate the life signs that have been reported. The presence of a rich atmospheric ecosystem was discovered, but 3.4 seconds later, the probe contaminated the atmosphere and triggered a chemical chain reaction that spread rapidly across the entire gas giant. No signs of life can be detected now. Oops! Unfortunate. Alright, so if we did an open borders...
System survey complete.
Okay, so I would be on my own for that. And it looks like the Igrian commonalities would also be along. Inferior technology level, but so I would basically, it would be potentially a 2-to-1 ratio against me on that conflict. So I definitely don't want to be fighting them unless I can somehow get the humans involved. Alright, so we've got some additional resources. Let's just build another spaceport. And 324, we can fill that out. Oh, great! And we've got more space for ships. Oh, that's right. When we build spaceports, we get additional naval capacity. So that might actually tilt things in our favor so far as taking on the enemy. Again, there's no need to rush to war, though, so I'm gonna play it cool, be patient. We're definitely not going to get open borders with these guys as long as we're rivals with them, but I have no interest in changing that because that is a source of influence for me. It's a little bit of a curious mechanic until you consider the idea of sort of prestige and projecting power. If you don't have a great rival, it's a little bit hard to sort of say that you're an influence on the world. Probably makes a little bit more sense in terms of a game like Europa Universalis, where there's sort of a historical precedent for having these rivalries and these kinds of arrangements. But I don't know. To me, it never seemed too curious in Stellaris. I'm probably going to wind up spending a lot of money maintaining these things, but I still think this is the right call, just so I can boost up my navy a little bit. Speaking of which, it will cost me 575 for another cruiser. So I think we'll just build one of each. It's nice to have 2 capital ships. I know this must not be very exciting to look at. Let's follow my science ship. Wow, look at that sun. Looks cool. Oh, hang on. Let's see if I can angle it right. Alright. We received a communique from a previously unknown confederacy. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communication with another empire that we're in contact with. Alright, so they are fanatic xenophobes and materialists. So Republicans. Hey, Zodicide, good to see you. I speak for the Chief Executive Officer Hasak Zaman and the wealthy elite of the Banthurian Confederacy. Your alien ways are objectionable to us, but perhaps we can still engage in limited trade, assuming your inferior civilization produces anything of value. You know what? Screw you. The way forward lies in our hands, Banthurians. Alright. Let us see if we can... I doubt there's going to be any profitable exchanges that we can get from these guys. Because of their xenophobia. However, we will be... Alright, so we're allied to rivals of theirs. They are rivaled to... Well, you know what? We can still form a non-aggression pact, so I'm okay with that. It's because their naval capacity is inferior. Alright, let's see how they respond to that.
Research complete. Incoming transmission.
The galaxy presents enough threats without having to worry about a war between the League of Seklokar provinces and the Banthurian Confederacy. We suggest entering into non-aggression pact to mutually secure peace. I agree. Alright, we've got our Foreign Federation option, which is good. Alright, now this is very tempting because of it's purple. However, a private colony ship doesn't drive me wild. So I can terraform, and I gain access. Terrestrial sculpting is a very, very, very tempting ability to get. So let's see what the living state gives me before I make a final decision. Because this, of course, benefits the statecraft. So bonus to leader capacity, fair enough. Lower leader recruitment costs, social welfare program edict, bonus happiness minus to, yeah, terraforming's the way to go. I normally want to get the rare technology, but in this case, I just don't see the benefit to the private colony ship compared to terrestrial sculpting. And what we're actually going to do here is we're going to switch out science officers. So this is going to, hopefully for Rezikax, this is going to improve their skill a little bit. But more importantly, Cathowix, in addition to being a 4-star scientist, it's also has a bonus for New Worlds. So you always want to kind of keep an eye in terms of who you have and what they're working on. Mostly just because you can get some pretty substantial benefits to your research, and it's just like this guy has just been passively building up his skill by exploring planets, and in the end, this is again going to continue my technological edge. Also have 2 more months before my physics research is done, which is pretty exciting. Yes, I find physics research exciting. Deal with it, chat.
Incoming transmission.
We would not want to drag your people into conflict, but it is clear that we would benefit from joining together against possible threats. I agree.
System survey complete.
It was nice that they proposed that, so
complete.
Let's actually see if we can leverage this to our advantage. So you have a new ally. Got a plus 15 view of us, so if we do research agreement... Alright, they like this. I see why. Yeah, so that is definitely more beneficial to them, but that's fine. We'll just use that to gain advantage of active sensor links and star charts. Let's see if they can give us some minerals for our trouble. Nope, they don't want the monthly transfer, fair enough. How about an instant transfer? Ooh boy! just going to make sure it's a +1. No sense in giving away the farm unless I have to.
Situation log updated.
Is a man not not entitled to the sweat of his brow? Okay, we've encountered some form of alien vessels in the Lishval system. These strange objects have been flagged as Omega aliens until we can learn more about them. We should proceed with caution. This will pull back from my social research. This is definitely the right call. Again, further trades, further potential allies. And we potentially can gain influence or a special project. So it'll be done in a month anyway. I'm not too worried about that.
Research complete.
All right, so deflectors are done. Oh, this is really tough. As much as I would love to do improve assist research, I don't think this is the right call. Unless all of my other options suck. Because my science ships are going to be spent exploring the galaxy. This is definitely a good one for when I want to keep my science ships home. So I can do disruptors, which will do shield damage, or I can do plasma throwers, which ignore armor in favor of shield damage. Or I could try sentinel point defense. It's very hard to see why I would want to do this. You know what? I think I'm going to go for the disruptor because shields, I think, are the counter to my laser. So I'm going to let the shipbuilder automatically find a role for that. But I think that might be a decent sort of long-term kind of plan.
Special project complete.
After successfully translating their language, you have established communications with the Stygian Combine. Diplomatic channels are now open and hostilities have been terminated, with a gain of 40 influence. All right, so we have fanatic collectivists. They're going to hate us for that, and they're militarists. So this is not going to be a very beneficial. Bring greetings from the Grand Marshal Malangord, the undisputed ruler of the Stygian Combine. Respect our borders and keep out of our affairs, and perhaps our mighty fleets will refrain from visiting your worlds. I won't deliberately be aggressive with this. I will choose the materialist response. And now I'm going to take a quick peek and see what they're made of. Inferior technology, but equivalent fleet power and naval capacity to us. They are allied with an unidentified empire, or at least have a defensive pact. And they are rivals with my rivals, so... I already have 3 rivalries, though, so I don't have a lot I can really do. I don't really have a lot that I can do about these guys, so fair enough. And there's not going to be any kinds of trades that happen. Now, I have the option of creating a federation, so let's see what we can do here. Invite to federation, acceptance -21. We have a differing war philosophy. Alright, so let's see how we can find out what are their... What is a war philosophy? If you have any questions, Otacide, let me know. Alright, sorry folks, I've got a creepy crawly I gotta deal with. Xenophobia +1. Not anymore, Jess.
Fikom de
Not
Renami.
anymore. Okay. Something about war philosophies here. Federation builders. Okay. So we are unaligned, it looks like. So how do I change that? Ah, okay, so we were unrestricted wars, we can do oh, hang on, this is different. Interesting. Okay. There's got to be a way that I can see what their policy is for war philosophy. I mostly just want to say, so it means that I can't do that aggressive war that I was planning on. So I might want to consider doing that. But let's go to the wiki and just see how I can find the war philosophy of another faction. So it tells me how to change war philosophy. I obviously have that. What I need to know is how do I find somebody else's war philosophy? All right. Not a whole lot online, unfortunately. So let's see if we can find... There's got to be something about their system of government that we can see here, so... Yeah, Zodicide, I read that exact same line. That is incorrect for the following reason. If you take a look at policies and edicts, you can go under war philosophy, and you can select any of these policies. So right now I have unrestricted wars. War is a dish best served frequently and to those who do not cook for themselves. Wars of aggression are allowed and all war goals can be freely used. Liberation wars, we must further our own interests even when they run contrary to the interests of others. Wars of aggression are allowed, but conquest war goals may only be used against previously owned planets and planets whose dominant species is the same as the conqueror. So, if they're claiming that you can't, if they're claiming that you can't change it. Now, notice here, right, you've got voting rights elitism. The question of leadership is best left to our society's most respected and knowledgeable members. That is definitely a function of my government. So these things are limited based on what you choose. But you do get a little bit of variation within your government style. Wait a minute, resettlement? This policy controls whether or not we are allowed to forcibly relocate POPs between planets. Yes, I do not want to do that. Native enlightenment is allowed, but I haven't done it. Native interference unrestricted. Active study. Okay. I'm going to set that policy. And this is because we will gain an additional 4 happiness. Orbital bombardment. No point in adjusting these. Purge. Prohibited. Yep. Definitely don't want to continue on with slavery. So the real question here, I don't want to do just defensive wars. May want to consider liberation wars because of what it gives me with the humans. But my real question is, so I've got a couple of alliances here. Where are we? Right. So currently I'm in a defensive pact with the United Nations of Earth, Allied Drill Prefend Systems, and the Banthurian Confederacy. So there's got to be a way that I can find out what these guys have as far as a war. Oh, nice. Okay. So we can invite these guys to the Federation. Costs us 2 influence, unfortunately. Am I willing to spend that? That's a really, really big cost. Well, with that music, yes! Reduced by -20 due to Federation contribution. Damn it! Hello, Melee Mage. How are you doing, my friend? Morning. Did you just get up? We've considered your offer carefully and decided to join the Glorious Concord. Haste Soccer 13. Thank you very much for that follow. All right. Let's see. See if we can drag some other people into this. Offer association status. We can offer them association status with our federation. And what about our other... The Banthurian Confederacy. They want my protection, but they're not willing to... it's because the Drill Profen are in it. Okay. Very much interested in this game. Glad my commentary... Oh, great. I really appreciate that, Hey Stalker. Perhaps, in the interest of full disclosure, I was given a key of this game from... I was given a key for this game from Paradox. I was also given a key for the Leviathans DLC, so... I mean, I am playing this for free. I think you guys are worth it. Worth a little bit more than a free game key for me. I think I would sell myself too cheaply if I just became a shill for that, but it is worth mentioning. But if you have any questions about the game, definitely feel free to let me know. I obviously wouldn't be playing it if I didn't enjoy it. I think it's a very worthy entry, and I mean, for big things like that swelling music, I think you can see why. But yeah, it's definitely worth it, and for me, it's definitely... I mean, it's paid for itself. I found it a very rewarding game. So if you're interested, I'm definitely very happy to answer any questions. If you're on the fence about buying it, I'll try and give you as objective of an answer as I can in terms of things you'll like about it, things that you won't. Hey, Captain Bear. Yeah, I was gonna say, the biggest one for me is that I think it's easy. So I mean, the best I can say, like in the end, I'm not gonna say no to a free key, right? The best thing that I can do is just say, it's like, okay, what is the best way for me to make sure that I go about this honestly and try and align people who want to play this game and I think would get enjoyment out of it, and try and, you know, point people to something they might enjoy more if they don't like it. So this one here, if you don't like learning, if you don't like, you know, going through a complicated game and sort of figuring out things as they go, you're probably not going to enjoy this game. But for me, I love games like this because even through this playthrough, even though I'm feeling quite secure in terms of this game, in terms of my knowledge of it, there's always new stuff for me to be learning. That's one thing I really enjoy about these Paradox games, and I think Stellaris has really hit the nail on the head for it, so. Alright, so the Glorious Concord has voted to offer the United Nations of Earth association status. Fine with that. We're glad to have this opportunity to work with the Glorious Concord. Excellent. Oh. We have received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that calls themselves the Zaxoid Republic. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire, and we are in that we are in contact with. Interesting. Alright, so they are fanatic xenophobes and they're pacifists, so we don't need to worry about being invaded by them, but we also probably don't have a lot of opportunities for trade. Is it easier or just as complex as CK2? I actually think it's not as complex as CK2. This is probably one of the most accessible of the Paradox games, and it's a double-edged sword that way. So if you get into Stellaris and you say, okay, well, they've got other games about this and it's about history, this looks awesome, I can't wait to try it out. The problem will be is that it'll be a little bit like me going from CK2 to Europa Universalis 4. I didn't like Europa Universalis when I first played it because it didn't make any sense to me having played Crusader Kings 2. Now I really like the game. But I think you're in for a little bit of a rude awakening if you go from Stellaris to one of the other games. Again, I stream those, I'm happy to help you out. I think, Captain Bear, you actually do play CK2 already. But yeah, so this is one of the most accessible, partly because it's the most open-ended, but with that in mind, you know, you do have, I think you kind of have to weigh those, you have to sort of weigh the challenges, when it comes to, you know, when it comes to the thing. You don't get a Paradox game so you can say, okay, I figured this thing out in 10 minutes and now I'm just going to go, you know, steamroll everything. So yeah, there's not too much micromanaging in this, although as you've been seeing, like I've been going through all these different planets and, you know, and trying to direct their development to sort of maximize my resource gathering here. Oh, you've only played Total War and Civ 5. Okay, yeah, so definitely this is going to be a step up from those two games. You very much like Civilization games, so you guess that's why you're interested in this game, but your guess is that it isn't a turn-based game. Yeah, hey Stalker, so this is I think would sort of be defined in a genre of its own as a possible real-time strategy game. So if you think of real-time strategy games, you probably think of stuff like Dawn of War, Company of Heroes, StarCraft, and those are basically like you don't pause at all games. Pausable real-time strategy, to me, it's actually my favorite style, because it, like, look at me right now. I'm sitting on this diplomacy screen. I can take all the time that I want. So you let real-time go by. You can change the speed however you want. But let's say 100 things happen across the galaxy that you need to deal with. That's fine. Hammer the space bar. You can take as long as you want to think through them. Now, if you're playing with other people, that might be a bit of a challenge. But for me, it's actually the best of both worlds, which is that I can generally let things run on their own however I want, but when it comes down to it, if I need to think about, you know, what is the next 10 years going to look like for my empire, in that situation, I'm able to hit pause and move forward. So after much deliberation, I have been authorized to speak with you on behalf of the Zaxoid Republic. We have built a peaceful system of government that operates under the supervision of a council led by Coordinator Palit Quitica. Your alien influence is not welcome here, and we would prefer it if you kept your distance. The way forward... Way forward lies in our hands, Exoids. Oh, interesting. So it says the Federation ship designer. Federation fleets are special fleets that are controlled by the Federation president. They are designed in the Federation ship designer and can use any technology available to any member of the Federation. Federation fleets cost no maintenance, but they cannot exceed the Federation naval count. Oh my god. So it looks like we've got the best technology. That's very cool. So how do I build? Alright, well, first thing we're going to do, let's see who we can get into our Federation. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not going to want to join. Yeah. I think it's a hostile world out there. Just build them on one of my planets? Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna wait to see what I want to see what my fleet capacity is.
System survey complete.
After building these. And in the meantime, I do really want to finish this quest, so let's... Let's see what happens if I declare war now.
Situation log updated.
We've encountered some form of alien vessel in the Vessam Clack system. These strange objects have been flagged as Daleth aliens until we can learn more about them. We should proceed with caution. Leader wishes to give the Daleth Aliens Association status with the Federation. Let's see if I can do the research first. Oh yeah, I've got enough time to talk to them first. Interesting. So I guess as part of this federation, I'm not able to declare war on them anymore. Well, that's a shame. I thought the Federation would make me tough to deal with. I gotta be missing something here. You can add and remove attackers by clicking the arrow buttons next to an empire's name. I don't see an arrow button. Is this a bug? Okay, add war goals to declare what you seek to achieve in this war. When negotiating for peace, you may only make demands that have first been added here. Add and remove attackers by clicking the arrow buttons next to an empire's name. Here's an empire name. shadow arrows. Sorry guys, I know there's some people interested in buying it. I'm really blowing it on showing this game off. Okay, well, you know what? I think I just want to open the doors anyway, so we'll switch to Liberation Wars. We'll see if we can get the humans to join in on that. I'm not going to ignore this offer, but I do want to see if I can. I do want to see if I can research these aliens first before bringing them in. I may never get another thing from Paradox. They've actually been very. I was going to say, for somebody who's been very mouthy about some of Paradox's business policies. They have been very generous with keys, especially lately, so. After successfully translating their language, we have established communications with the Avarian Confederation. Diplomatic channels are now open and all hostilities have been terminated. So I wanted to make sure that I got some influence out of that. These guys are xenophiles and militarists, so I represent the Avarian Confederation. Our elected leader, Consul Baraki, believes in peace through strength, but do not be alarmed by our military spendings. We are impressed by your species and hope that you will agree to a cultural exchange between our people. The way forward lies in our hands, Avarians. Alright. Let's vote yes to that. It's nice to have a militaristic group.
Construction complete.
United Nations of Earth. Let's see if we can invite them to the Federation now. Excellent. Man, everybody's joining. All right, let's just take a look at what's going on here. Hey Stalker, I don't know exactly. So it's not that it wasn't a giveaway. That's for sure. It was. I suppose the technical term is because I'm an influencer. But it's. I don't know the secret to doing it. It's I think part of it is the fact that I've been doing this for a little while. So Zoticide, it's that's a little bit of a tough call. So if you're a completionist and you want to play all the Shadowrun games, you absolutely need to start with Shadowrun Returns first because it's the shortest campaign, and it's going to feel like a big step backwards if you do it any other way. Your alternative is to, if you don't care so much about completionist or you're not worried about the fact that you're going to go back to a game which is maybe a little less polished than the other ones, the one you want to start with is Dragonfall, which in my view has the best story. Shadowrun Hong Kong is about equivalent, I would say, in terms of quality of story, but it has a little bit better mechanics. It also probably has the most content out of all of them because I've found out that extra campaign that they added in the extended edition is pretty long. It's got some really good stories in it. So I'd say if you just want to go, if you just want to go for the ride, definitely you want to start with Dragonfall. If you want to try all the CRPGs that you can get your hands on, then you want to play Shadowrun Returns first. Oh yeah, what am I saying? Hey Stalker, if you want to know how this stuff works, actually Jesse Quill is one of the people who actually does influencer relations. She's not affiliated with Paradox. That's a different person who I talked to about that. But Jessie Quill is an expert on this, and she'll be very, very happy to inform you about anything that you want to know. Okay, we've got more members of this federation. Should actually consider one of these art pieces. So what is it? Gain access to an art monument with falling planet effect. Oh, that's right. I can build that instead of some of these complexes. I gotta remember that. I'll say we cannot afford that. Can you ask me about Civ 5? Sure, what do you need to know? Oh, sure, Haystock. I mean, so look, I'll be honest with you, like, I think this game is worth it at the full asking price, but obviously we're coming up on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. If you want to save your pennies, that's just smart. One thing you can do if you want to support Paradox directly, I believe if you buy it directly from their website, which is Paradox Plaza, I believe, they have their own online storefront. You'll get a Steam key from that, but in this case, you're going to be buying directly from them, which means that they're not necessarily going to be paying those fees that you need to pay when you're, you know, selling a game on Steam. So that might be a way that you can support them. I don't know if they're going to have a better deal than Steam, but I think the thing that you kind of want to do is take care of yourself first. You may also be interested, if you don't follow this already, there's a service called, I think it's deals.razorzone.com. And so when I have a game that I'm interested in, I usually add it on that, and it'll give me an email when it becomes available. Now the catch is that some of the services that they include are groups like Green Man Gaming. The Green Man Gaming maybe doesn't have the same scummy reputation that G2A.com does, but there have been some cases where they've taken some keys which have not come directly from the developer. And in that case, it's a little bit of a more disreputable practice. And so in that case, you kind of, if you are conscious about sort of the developer, you may want to keep an eye on who you're buying these things from. It's one of the reasons why I recommend buying things directly from the developer. The only catch is that I don't believe deals.razorzone will let you know when the Paradox Plaza store is putting it on sale. But generally, if they put it on sale on Steam, you'll usually see it on sale on their store. Can you build a form and a fort on top of the same tile, or does it get replaced with the newest building? Generally, a tile improvement will replace whatever's on it, but forts are usually a different thing. So let me just double check here. I believe you can actually build a fort on a you can build a fort on a farm tile. Okay, so it looks like, according to Stack Exchange, a land tile may have a road or railroad, but not both, one tile improvement, a farm, mine, trading post, lumber mill, fort, citadel, academy, custom house, etc. Options depend on the tile type. Tile improvements cannot be stacked with one caveat. If a great person builds a tile improvement on a tile, it counts as connecting any strategic resources on that tile to your trade network. For instance, if you build a manufactory with a great engineer on a tile that contains iron, it will give you the iron resource, even though iron normally requires a mine. It does not give you the tile modifier of the improvement though. So if you build a citadel on iron, you'll get the iron, but not the mine production bonus. This caveat is in the game because the strategic resources are not all exposed on the map at the beginning of the game. If you consumed a great person to build a tile improvement, and later that tile was revealed to have a critical strategic resource, you'd have to destroy that improvement to get the resource, which would waste your consumption of the great person. Luxury resources are visible from the beginning of the game, so there's no such exemption for building a great person improvement on the luxury resource tile. So it seems like you cannot build a fort on a farm without getting rid of the farm. Well, it's a good question, actually, Jesse Cool, because it changes each game, right? Okay, we've encountered some form of alien vessels in the Semclack system. These strange objects have been flagged as the He aliens. until we can learn more about them. We should proceed with caution. Well, let us research them, because it only takes 1 month, and we can stop being sexist. Alright, Eladril Profen wishes to give the Helians Association... Well, again, I'll hold off on the vote. I think this is going to be forced on us anyway once the United Nations of Earth votes. Oh, nope. So I'll just take some time to research them first.
Special project complete.
After successfully translating their language, we have established communications with the Confederation of Fafosan Worlds. Diplomatic channels are now open and all hostilities have been terminated. Excellent. Again, we're doing this so that we can gain the benefit of the influence for researching them. And they're fanatic individualists, which is good for us, but they are spiritualists, which is bad for us. So we kind of have slightly opposing views. I bring greetings from the revered Elder Eyes of Gold, the elected leader of the Confederation of Fafosan Worlds. We believe in the right of all sentient beings to fulfill their individual spiritual needs, and we hope that you will share in this sentiment. Let us say, our citizens send their regard, Fafosans. And I vote yes.
Ships upgraded. Construction complete.
So I'm thinking I might break my... I want to see if I can maybe break my directly controlled system limit. Before we do that, let's take a minute and do some more contact. Migration Treaty, United Nations of Earth. Oh yeah, actually I also got to consider some of those. So we've got migration with United Nations of Earth. All right, let's see what we can, if we can do business with these guys. Okay. Nice. So let's just run that out as long as we can. And... oh, they don't want to pay for any of it. Ah, well. I'm okay with that. We might also be able to get migration out of that after. Yeah, no luck there. I think I might have actually already got something. Yeah, okay. No deals with them. So no migration treating, unfortunately. Oh, it's because there's Xeno. Oh, there's Xenophiles. So why don't they want to? No suitable planets. Okay. Bad luck. Ah, but the research agreement always sweetens the pot. So let's see if we can get some money. Nope. Nobody wants to pay up. Ah, but they're willing to give up some energy, so that's what I should have done before. It's been a while since I've done a deal with these guys. Yeah, but they're not interested in it. Okay, well, I think we still came out ahead on this. Alright, we've encountered some form of alien vessels in the Shinagawa system. These strange objects have been flagged as the Zayan aliens until we can learn more about them. Well, we already know the routine. We might as well do the research. Alright, got my deals.
project complete.
After successfully translating their language, we've established communication with the Poblian Commonwealth. Diplomatic channels are open and all hostilities have been terminated. I represent the Pobelin Commonwealth. Our elected leader, Consul Adifin Uvi Sonnetvab, my god, believes in peace through strength, but do not be alarmed by our military spending. We are impressed by your species and hope you will agree to a cultural exchange between our people. So very similar to the guys who've already joined the Federation. All right, let's see what's going on here. I've allowed you to move. All right, you know what? Screw you, dude. Oh, it's the spiritual. Okay. Sorry to put the pause on this again, but let's I just want to see if I can get a little bit more out of these guys. So they're not going to want a migration treaty. No migration treaty here. Interesting. These guys have now become more powerful than... Oh, you know what? It's probably because I had to give up on the naval capacity. Alright, so they would... It looks like my people would accept an open borders. Ooh, and we can also wipe out... Oh my god, that's actually a really good one. So we can hurt their economy by stomping out slavery. We can do planetary liberation. Okay, nice. So we can definitely justify some wars here. I don't know if I quite want to do that yet, just because there's some further expansion I can do. But I have a feeling this game's going to get really exciting in a little bit. Right, so let's just see where Earth is as far as... Okay, they're equivalent to me. And... Where's my other ally? They're also equivalent. Okay, so it's not... We're definitely going to want to make sure we're on top of our game as far as... as far as this fight's concerned, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to take it. I think the United Nations of Earth is actually going to be the one that pays the most on this, because they're going to get hit in Hadius. Okay, let's see if there's anything else we can do on our planets. We can do a lot of upgrades. Another engineering facility. Need a planetary capital. We're stagnating again. There's not much we can do about that because this guy's already building. So, you know what? I'm pretty much drowning in minerals, so I might as well clear that out while I can. Let's upgrade the basic science, and that's... We don't really need more social research, but it is the better location for it, so... I think this might be the planet where we want to put the artwork. And no further upgrades to be done. We're actually basically at our population cap, so I might want to reconsider. Anthurian Confederacy has declared the United Nations of Earth as their rival. Well, that's a shame, because they're a Federation member, but... So I think what I'll do is I'll actually build a Federation fleet. So let's just see, we've got 28 naval capacity. So 24 with a capital ship. Maybe okay, so just out of curiosity, if I divide them into threes, what do I get? Oh. More governors. Unemployment. I think science is the best thing to put this guy towards. It should be happiness, unfortunately.
System survey complete.
I don't have that option right now. I think we'll make that a physics lab just to shore up my physics research. And I think what we do now, because we're drowning in food, I'm going to start converting some of those farms to something a little more useful for me. Where's my leader screen? Okay, I've got space for more governors, so... Building, slave... Okay, so I want to go for the youngest builder.
Construction complete.
Let's move this guy down to physics research. And then we'll be able to upgrade our capital, so I think we're just going to hold off on that planet.
Research complete.
Excellent. Okay, decision time. So we got new engineering facility, which means I can spend a bunch of these minerals on upgrading my engineering capacity. I can now choose a Betharian power plant. So that's a kick in the pants for my energy production. It's very tempting. Carrier operations, which will give me a fighter ring. Okay, that's also very tempting. And these are not very tempting because it's a kinetic weapon upgrade and we're laser based. I really want to do carrier operations, but this is actually, I do have Betharian and it's such an easy one to upgrade, so I'm going to do that. Let's just head back to my planets, make sure that my facilities are the top. Okay. I really like it, Jesse Gould. Again, I've been declining the opportunity to like really go in and show you how magnificent this game looks. Actually, you know what? We can do that right now. Behold, space. Oh god, this looks so good. Look at that, guys. How can you have an imagination and not want to play this?
Research complete.
Terrestrial sky. Oh, yes, terraforming. Okay. Mountain ranges. Both of these tempting. I think the naval capacity just to close off that problem I have right now. I'd love to... Okay, actually, hang on. I had a mountain range I wanted to get rid of. Where is it? And what is it blocking? It's blocking food on a planet that doesn't need it anymore. Alright, we're gonna... It's lame, but I'm gonna go for the naval capacity, because I'm gonna be going to war soon. Oh, great. Thank you very much for that, Jesse Quill. Again, I can't make you guys a promise that they're always going to correspond to a Steam deal, but it's just a nice... My view is this. If you can get the game for the same price on Steam, and if you can get the game for the same price on Paradox Plaza, the more money that goes towards Paradox means the more... the more that goes into the developing of these games, or the more successful the business looks. I mean, they are a publicly traded company, so they are responsible for turning a profit for their shareholders. But in the end, the more that stays in Paradox's pocket is more likely to be going towards our benefit than into Steam. Johnny Big Time, thank you very much for that auto host. Alright, let's give this physics. And I think I need to start building some Federation ships. So, I'm going to build 2 Federation cruisers. And then 4 destroyers. And maybe 10 corvettes. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm generating about 100 a turn, so... Oh, you know what? I can actually spread this over my shipyards now. I'll wait till I can afford the destroyers. Oh, it needs a level 3. Ha ha. Alright, you know what? We'll just keep this all in the same spot. So, I said 4 destroyers. How does this game compare to Hearts of Iron 4? Is it easy to pick up and play? Warpony, it's easier than Hearts of Iron 4 in my opinion. It is a Paradox game, so you are going to be spending some time figuring it out, but I think out of all of them... So, I'm actually also not saying... So, part of this is just my experience with Paradox games, but I think another very telling feature is the fact that I was maybe a little annoyed when I saw some bigger streamers playing this, and like they had these huge audiences watching it, and like, I mean, so in one sense I like to see a very successful game, right? But I'm kind of like, man, I've been doing Grand Strategy for like, months, and it's like this guy picks it up right away and everybody's watching him. But yeah, it was definitely one where some it was definitely one where it seemed to be a bit of a crossover title. It seemed to be one where the people who like these kinds of games were playing it, but also people who are just like variety streamers were playing it and staying with it. So I think that's a mark of a fairly easy to pick up game. Like, I know, so like a good example would be W. Shand. When I was, he didn't play Stellaris, but I remember like when I told him I played Crusader Kings 2, he immediately remarked on the complexity of it. And so it's very, like, everybody knows what they're dealing with when it comes to these kinds of games. And that didn't stop people from adopting Stellaris. So I think both in terms of my personal experience, which I think counts for something, but also just sort of the response that other people have given, this seems to be a pretty easy to pick up title. All things being considered. Like, I'm not going to tell you this is the easiest game you're ever going to play, but I didn't really explain my thought process behind that. The other two didn't impress me as much, and this will increase my mineral capacity. So in this case, I've already maxed out my number of coloni... Ooh, who did we lose? We've lost a scientist. Let's get a new one. Okay, low recruitment cost. Let's see what the youngest is. Okay, good for military theory or good for field manipulation. I think for the same price, we might as well get the youngest scientist, even though we already have a military theorist. Throw him on a boat.
System survey complete.
Exactly, Warpony. I mean, again, nobody really plays a Paradox game, you know, for a cakewalk. Like, there is a tremendous reward in playing a game that is this complicated and in-depth. The difference is, like, I think people generally are okay with complicated games. I just think they want to feel like they're actually getting something out of it rather than just being some, like, horribly designed menu system that, like, there's complexity because it's a deep game, and then there's complexity which is just these guys have been living with this game forever and they just don't appreciate what makes a game good. Paradox has never fallen in that latter category, at least in my opinion, and but they frequently deliver in the former. All right, we'll just wait till the end of the month and we can build our 4th destroyer. Once I'm done building my my Federation fleet, I'm going to move on to upgrading all of these other. Oh, actually, you know what? I can start building solar No, I can't because I've just used all my minerals. I can build some solar panels on these things and get some easy easy bonuses for energy credits. By the way, guys, it is going to be a little bit of a shorter stream tonight. I still have the same bedtime. I actually already passed my bedtime, but I'll try. I don't know if I'll start the war, but I'll at least talk a little bit about what the plan's going to be for the next couple of sessions. So yeah, now we're building the entertainment complex. So that hopefully is going to translate into... No, you know what? They're already happy. That might have actually... Oh, no, we've got a 46, so... Hey, we've detected the presence of a primitive alien civilization on Grobasal Siva in the Hardar system. They currently seem to be experiencing the equivalent of a renaissance, having recently left the medieval age behind them. Scientific knowledge is spreading rapidly, and the armies of their petty kingdoms are equipped with crude gunpowder-based projectile weapons. We should consider building an observation port above their world to study them more closely. So, just to give you guys an idea of what that is. So right now we are currently observing this city, Ralifek. So you actually will notice that one of my scientists is of this species. So when you encounter a sort of civilization like this, you get to choose how you interact. So I can do passive observation, which will gain me 3 social research every month. Now I'm doing aggressive observation, so the natives are aggressively studied and live specimens are frequently collected to learn as much as possible about their biology and culture. So in this case here, we saw a particularly talented scientist, and we basically abducted him from his planet and put him to work in our labs. There's technological enlightenment, so an effort is made to rapidly elevate the native civilization to the space age. The time that it takes is dependent on the current level of technology. So this actually costs me. And then finally, there's covert infiltration. Now, I removed unrestricted native studies, and I was originally going to do this. So what this is, agents are genetically modified to appear as members of the native population and sent to infiltrate their society. They will gradually replace world leaders and prepare the planet for annexation by us. This complex operation is only worthwhile on industrial civilization. So what I was originally going to do was actually try and take this planet's resources, because they're very tempting. But I do have a little bit of a story that I'm telling with this this species. Even if I'm not being explicit about it, I do sort of have some ideas about roughly what these frogmen hold dear. And so I said there's really no way in this story that I can sort of justify that decision. And in the end, that's actually why I adjusted my my policies to accommodate that. Let's just take a quick look here. There's no point. Slavery, we couldn't even change it, and this is because I have an individualistic society. No point in doing a purge. It's an atrocity. Orbital bombardment. I'm okay staying limited. I don't want to go too light on this because there's no benefit to my happiness for that. I'm okay with native interference. Can't change that anyway. Native enlightenment. So I would actually gain population happiness for prohibiting it. No native world would be ready to grasp the wonders that we have discovered, and exposing them to truths of the galaxy would carry enormous risk for everyone involved. I mean, I don't actually... Let's go for prohibited on this. It's mostly because it keeps people happy. I want to keep free migration. It's a good liberal value that I believe in. Can't change voting rights because of my government style. I think the rest of these... Yeah. I think all of that's fine. I'll take a quick look at the empire-wide edicts. Information quarantine. Do not want to inhibit my research speed. Encourage free thought. Ethics divergence in exchange for research speed. That's tempting. Engineering research grants. So I sacrifice society and physics in exchange for boosting engineering. Not quite what I want to do. Same deal with physics and society. And finally, drone bounty. Instructor fleets to salvage the energy cells of defeated ancient mining drones. That would have been really tempting to put up when I was busy popping those fleets. And I am rapidly reaching my limit on energy credits. Hey Stalker, thank you very much for saying that.
Research complete.
Oh, all right. Yeah, you know what? This is a good... So again, guys, I'm sorry this is a little bit more of a mellow cast. Oh, and there's so many of you guys here too. Maybe I'll do like an extended goodbye is maybe the way to handle this. But I really do need to go to bed. I know it was a shorter stream tonight. It's a work thing. Jesse Quill does know I was kind of messing around on my phone a bit too, but definitely wanted to make sure that I got some stuff done. Wanted to make sure I did this game. So I will make sure that I let you guys know what the plan is for Grand Strategy in the next little while. And we'll talk about what the next few steps in this game is going to be, and then we'll see if we can maybe wrap it up. But yeah, hey Stalker, comments like that. I mean, obviously it's the internet. It's the easiest way that you can communicate with somebody, but it actually means a lot when somebody, especially for the first time coming into the channel, says something like that. I mean, I do this for free, and as we were talking about a little bit earlier, this has had a nice side benefit to some developers that I like a lot, either checking out the stream or hooking me up with a key for a game I might be interested in. But in the end, like, it's an entertainment medium. If people like my stuff, that feels good. I like having people in here to interact with. So it's, you know, it's so simple for people to say, you know, hey, I like your stuff, but it actually means a lot. It's the thing that kind of keeps me going on this. Because I think I know Jessie Quill in real life now. She's actually somebody who started watching this cast, but I had the opportunity to meet her at a meetup. She knows a little bit about my in real life biography now. She knows a little bit about my basically about sort of all the stuff that I have on my plate. And sometimes I sort of, I don't doubt the streaming thing, but like it's definitely a very big time investment. And there's things that I give up in order to be able to do it. But again, you guys have always sort of made that, you've always made that feel worthwhile. So thank you. Nubasaur, thank you very much. Have a great one. Or Pony, I'll go to bed, get sleep. Yes, I will. Like I said, it'll be a long goodbye. So we've got our Disruptors technology. Disruptors fire high energy bolts that weaken and destroy the molecular bands that hold the target's constituent atoms together. They are particularly effective against shields. So this is, if somebody builds a sort of an anti-beam weapon fleet, this is our cure for that. Okay, rare ones are always tempting to go for. We were saying that we were going to do cold fusion reactor. It's become a little bit more important now because it'll give us some additional storage, but let's see what planetary shield generator does. Fortification bonus, super tempting because it's rare, but I think I have a higher goal right now of efficiency. So cold fusion power, social research. Oh, thank God. Okay, so I can get rid of the dangerous wildlife. I'm almost certainly going to go for this one. God, yeah, I want all of this, but I have to get rid of dangerous wildlife. Okay, you know what? We're going to play this for 10 more months. That'll basically let me build up that'll let me build up a sort of a production queue. So let's just speed on through it. I think I said I was going to build 10 Corvettes, right?
System survey complete.
Oh, lost a scientist. All right. Again, he's the youngest, and he has a skill that we might use, so... It does mean I have to, replot his journey, though. Okay. Survey it. I think we're just going to continue a pattern until we get back to our friendly territory. Just 10 more months. Chalk while scratching neck, holding a bottle of cheap whiskey. Hey, I've only got expensive whiskey in my my apartment.
Ships upgraded. Ships upgraded.
So it wasn't a huge upgrade on our part, but still definitely worth it. Oh, we're losing so many leaders. Alright, Class 12 asteroid orbits this planet. The small planetoid's orbit appears to be far too stable for its presence to be a natural occurrence. I'll research it, as always. Even though I potentially lose... Oh, we've got elections! The negotiations for appointing a new chief executive officer are underway. The decision will be announced on 22/51/04/21. So I can pay 200 influence to push one of these guys up. I would prefer... Okay, so I'm okay with both. Growth time is a little bit... Okay, so here's the way that I'm thinking. The bonuses here are potentially good. I think I would say probably Morazak would be the one I'd be most interested in. Fleet expansion is preferable to growth time because of my current goals. I actually can build additional naval capacity now. I really don't want to blow a little under half of my influence selecting one of these guys. So it's basically it's a 25% chance that the ideal candidate gets picked. It's 50% chance that the agenda is one that I like. And in the end, I can sort of live... Like, this guy's also not a bad one, so even within that 50, I've got another 50% chance that, you know, the monthly influence goes up, which is good. This is the only guy I'm sort of like, you know, the edict cost, it's okay, but I'm not too crazy about it, so I will abstain. And... Perfect. So this is the guy that I wanted. We've elected Morazak, previously admiral on the ISS Durifiximon, to become the next ruler. So I believe that means yes. I don't have an admiral. So let's go for a young one. Ah, and resilient. So this is good. This is actually going to be... So he's not going to have any... not necessarily going to have any skill, but we're going to be able to improve their ability pretty rapidly. Okay, all in all, I'd say that was a fairly good... I think that was a fairly good outcome. All right, 3 more months, and then we will...
Construction complete.
We'll do the roadmap for the new generation. Oh god, where are we at with my Federation's fleet? Okay, so we had 2, 4, 3. I said, okay, 7 more of these things. During the operations above Fu-2, the ISS Zebrock suffered a containment breach in its reactor core. The safety of the entire ship was put into jeopardy, but thanks to a valiant act of sacrifice by the vessel's science officer, the engine room was successfully purged of radiation. Unfortunately, the scientists received a lethal dose of radiation poisoning and could not be saved. Send in the next clone! Ooh, 30. Okay. Again, I always go young with this race because we specifically designed them as being short-lived. Unfortunately, it does mean I need to redraw their exploration. I'm doing a slightly different path, but I'd kind of like to explore a little further out if I can get away with it. Works for me.
Research complete.
Nope. I believe that is our clearing. Yes, it is. Okay. So I can do hydroponics farm, which is tempting. Let's see what else we can do. We can do Fleet Academy, and the Grand Fleet increases. Whoo boy. So that's an edict. So I can get a modifier to increase the fire rate, chance to hit, and tracking. I can get an edict which will cost me 2 influence but will make me a huge badass. I think this is the way to go. So the alternative is something that will boost my food, which is okay, or an upgrade. I mean, it's really good that we can get a bonus to hydroponics farms. It will free up further resources that we can boost up, but honestly, I gotta go for this one. Just the option of hitting that edict and then just going to town on an enemy is too much to pass up. All right, so why was I so excited to get that that upgrade? So if we take a look at my home planet, right, we've got Rothrak. So the reason why I would maybe want to do that that hydroponics upgrade is right now I've got 2 hydroponics farms on this planet. If I can make it so that I'm generating, let's say, 8 food, then I can scrap this and I can replace it with maybe another mineral, or I wouldn't probably do energy because I'm already at my capacity, but you know, I could do this for science, let's say. Lethith Prime. So now, again, toxic kelp would be the ideal one, but notice that this planet's starting to get a little crowded. Now I've got more living space, so we'll actually start clearing that right away. Oh god, I thought we had more. Okay, yeah, we do have one more. Damn it, I thought it was going to be at least one more on this planet here, but I was wrong. We'll upgrade a power plant, although it doesn't really help me. Okay, so that was actually less exciting than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to unlock something on this planet. But with that in mind, we do have, where was it? Liseth Prime right in time to, basically, once this guy lands, he'll be unemployed, but we're going to be able to boost up our production a little bit. I wonder if I can afford a lab. I cannot. Getting close to our Federation cap. Okay, so next plan. We briefly detected some unusual energy readings emanating from this planet. It might have been a glitch in our systems, or it could be a sign of something more. Again, researching, we've already gone through so many leaders, I'm not that worried about losing another one, to be honest.
Construction complete.
Alright, Rothak has finished its work. I suspect I can't build another Corvette for a little while. So right now... Actually, I'm curious about something. If we can get some information on these enemies here, that would be fantastic. I kind of want to know what their fleets look like. So superior naval capacity. So even though they have a superior naval capacity, they're equal in power, which is actually that's very interesting to me. That means that we probably have some very good ships. Okay, so can I liberate... Ooh. They've got a resource I want. Looks like that empire could use some freedom. Yeah, so Haystalker, there is only one way, there's only one mode for the game. Yeah, actually this is a really good way to cap it off. So what this game does, you create your empire. You can either choose a pre-designed species, or you can you could also build your own. I think it's more fun to build your own, if you want my opinion, but if you want to learn the mechanics of the game, it doesn't hurt to just jump in with something that somebody's already created. Now, what this game does is you'll notice, like, so what I was searching this planet here, we briefly detected some unusual energy readings emanating from this planet. It might have been a glitch in our systems, or it could be a sign of something more. This could just be a one-off event that gives me a bonus, or it could get something like this, which triggers in the situation log. So for here, I've got sort of this long-standing... This has basically been here since I started the game. Precursors, the First League. We have recovered artifacts from the First League. They're a large confederation of alien races that coexisted in relative peace for roughly 2 million years ago. The First League's borders may have expanded to cover a significant portion of the galaxy before its eventual collapse. If we can find enough relics from their civilization, it may be possible to pinpoint the location of their home system. And what we've been doing is we've been carrying on throughout the galaxy, and we found 3 of these League artifacts. But throughout this, the reason why I've been focusing so much on exploration has been to try and find these remaining artifacts. I've also done alien specimen procurement, which I've succeeded except for this planet here. And you can notice, in addition to being a story-driven one, which is of course our quest for knowledge and our attempts to try and record all these different alien species, it's also going to have a shape in terms of the political events that occur in the galaxy. we've got this somewhat strong enemy here. And if you consider all of the actions that I've been taking in terms of building federations and building up my fleet and deciding whether or not I want to go to war, all of this has been based on the fact that they're currently blocking me from being able to achieve this goal. And so, you know, I take a look at them. It's like, what do their allies look like? Well, they've only got the United Egarian commonalities. Well, again, in this case, they're roughly equivalent. What do I have on my side? Well, let's just take a look. If I were to declare war on them now, and let's just say it's only BOI that we want to liberate. We don't care about anything else. Oh, hang on. They've got multiple planets? I guess we'd have to do both then. I could bring in 2 of my allies, and I would need to achieve a war score of 49. So in this case here, right, it's a story thing that we did. I could have chosen to say I don't want to do this quest, but because I did, this has had a shape on the game. And I mean, these frog people, like I said, I decided, you know, more or less every detail about what I built them, and in the back of my head, I have an idea about what drives these things, just because I think it's a more fun way to play the game. If you don't like playing that way, that's fine. I mean, you can just make it like any other strategy game where you're, you know, maximizing your resources, and there's nothing wrong with playing that way. It's a very rewarding way of playing on its own. But for me, I do think there's some value in sort of building up this this experience. So. With that in mind, guys, what are the next couple turns going to look like? Well, I think we are going to max out my capacity for my navy, so that's going to mean I have at least 2 more corvettes that I add to my navy here, and then I think we'll at least make an effort to... I think what we'll do is we'll make an effort to liberate BOI. I think we'll be a little conservative in terms of our war goals so that we can just sort of... I mean, in this case, they've overreached, right? This is a little further away from their own bases. Earth is going to get hit on Hades, but the big thing is that if Earth gets hit, if the Earth Empire gets hit here, then that leaves us open to do the invasion on our goal. And so this will allow me to sort of complete my my quest. As far as the rest of this is concerned, I'm not sure. I'm hoping to find a Leviathan at some point. And we've certainly explored a lot more of the galaxy than I was planning, just by virtue of the fact that we've built up this federation and built up all these alliances. So it's a pretty productive round. And the nice thing is, because we have this federation now, I'm feeling a little bit more secure about the Onotak Protectors and any of these other more militant groups that might potentially cause us some trouble. So, but with that in mind, though, guys, Stellaris with the Leviathans DLC, even though I haven't seen any Leviathans, it's still fun. I am really looking forward to showing them to you, because I've seen some of the screenshots and they look incredible. To give you guys an idea of the kind of species you can create, you start with things like appearances. I believe this is the bonus skin that you get. If you get, I think it's the Nova edition of the game. So these things are all... These first 3 are all flavor. Traits are actually going to affect the gameplay. Ruler, again, you just get to change the colors. Name and class... These sort of affect it, but I think this game is fairly well balanced, so whatever your preferences are, you know, there's no way that you can really see how the changes are. Again, the way your cities look is not going to change how the game behaves. Your ethics do affect gameplay. Empire name, again, something completely random flag. Starting weapons is a mechanic, FTL method is a mechanic, and ship appearance isn't. So if you see 1, 2, 3, 4... I'll say this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these are just, they're pure story elements. So, anyways, guys, this is a lot of fun to do. As always, you guys have been really, really generous with your follows, with your comments in chat. I like playing this game. For those of you who are new to the channel, we do Grand Strategy every Monday. Right now we're doing Stellaris. We did do Hearts of Iron 4 previously, and I think probably Crusader Kings 2 is up next after this. Casts are usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with one optional cast on the weekends. I try to cast other times too, but those are always the set times. We're going to be finishing up Shadowrun. We're going to be starting Tyranny, which is another Paradox game. And we will also be finishing off Wolfenstein: The New Order. So if you guys like it, do feel free to follow. Feel free to check out the Twitter. That's when I'll be announcing when I go live, when I play some other stuff. And other than that, let's see who we can host tonight and pass on the love. Uh-oh. It says I don't have an internet connection. I don't believe that.